What is up, party people? I am your fantasy shot caller, Ben Dunna, Benny Buckets, Ballin' Ben Dunna, Gunna Dunna in the house. And we have got my man, my dude, Kyle Boom Bust, the Fantasy Football Network. How we doing tonight? It's pretty sloppy today.
Oh, it was the sloppiest of Sundays today, but now I want ice cream after that intro.
Right?
I don't have a cool rap that goes with Kyle either. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you be the style on this broadcast.
That's cool, man. Kyle's letting me be the style. He's being hip. He's got all the files and the stats. He's going to put up them racks to show you that fantasy is life. Let's dive into the first matchup of the day in the Raiders and the Giants. Man, the Giants win another one. And going forward, what do we think?
Man, I don't know. Like, I started Kadarius Toney in a league, and I regret it.
Me too.
1 catch for 9 yards, bro. Like, what is that? I don't understand it. Ingram had 3, Galladay with 2. I mean, Rudolph had 4. Come on.
Yeah. It
Like,
doesn't
what are
make
y'all doing?
any sense at all.
He's the
I
best
mean-
receiver on the team, and that includes Galladay and Shepard. And they gave him 1 catch for 9 yards. 1 target. Just 1 target.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
Derek Carr put up 296 yards and a touchdown, but those 2 interceptions really showed his inability to make the right decisions. Obviously, they're adjusting to a new offense with Henry Ruggs doing, whatever he did. And with that, I mean, Hunter Renfrow, he caught a touchdown. Darren Waller finally showed out.
Waller's back.
7
I love it.
receptions for 92 yards. That's 16.2 points in full PPR. So he's back, baby, and we called him out on the Fantasy Shotcallers, and it came out to ball, and usually that's what happens.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Waller back. I guess they determined Zay Jones was not the answer. Now they got Deshaun Jackson coming in. So we'll see how quickly he integrates into that offense.
And I mean,
He's a
Devontae Booker
veteran,
yeah.
he'll probably be playing next week, if I'm guessing.
Devontae Booker had a pretty good game. Saquon's still out. He on 21 carries, 99 yards, 3 receptions for 23 yards. That's an easy 15 points for an RB2 or flex position. So if you picked him up off the waiver wire, it helped. It definitely helped.
Yeah, and then next week's the bye, and then Barkley should be back. So
yeah,
probably not going to be seeing much of Devontae Booker going forward, but definitely a pretty good game today.
Yeah, another good game. The Falcons almost blew it again, but the Falcons upset the Saints 27-25. Matt Ryan threw for 343 yards, 2 touchdowns. The running game, non-existent. But, I mean, that's kind of what we expected. Cordell Patterson, 6 receptions for 126 yards. He's still the man in Atlanta. Kyle Pitts had a measly 3 receptions for 62 yards. But at the tight end position, that's really all you can hope for.
Well, it's pretty clear defenses are focusing on Pitts.
Yeah.
Like, he's obviously the best option on that offense. They're shutting him down. And Patterson's running free because of it. Gage ain't doing anything.
Yeah.
Welcome back, that run game was non-existent, which we expected against New Orleans for sure.
Yeah. Welcome back, Mr. Sarcastic. He currently up by 1. He has Najee Harris left, and his opponent has Deontay Johnson. Think I win? I think so. Najee Harris has guaranteed touches. Also, Najee Harris, I think, will have a bigger game this week going against reeling Chicago Bears defense. So, also, I hope that the Steelers get at least 3 points, because that's how many I need in one of my Yahoo leagues that I am currently on a 3-game win streak when I started 0-5.
Nice. That's good. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Najee, I think you got that. It's good to see Mr. Sarcastic in here again. He's one of those that popped up in chats in multiple shows, so we appreciate you, man.
And going over to the Saints offensive side, Trevor Siemian, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think that's the biggest about those stats. Alvin Kamara did Alvin Kamara things, 4 receptions, 54 yards, 50 yards on the ground with 13 carries and a touchdown. And Mark Ingram even got sprinkled in there, 9 carries for 43 yards. So they came back in a big way. One sleeper that I didn't have time to post about, but Traequan Smith, he was looking like the wide receiver 1 before he got hurt and before all the hype around Marquez Callaway. Callaway did catch a touchdown this week, but 3 receptions on 25 yards. I mean, he's kind of like gone with the wind. And so I would look at Traequan Smith going forward.
Yeah, I actually have Marquez Callaway in a dynasty league. I had picked him up off waivers real early, and I'm even thinking about dropping him there now. Like, clearly they don't give a crap about him there. So maybe if they end up with, maybe Jameis comes back next year, maybe he could be something again. But even Winston wasn't throwing at him much, so probably just scrap him. Yeah, Kamara's the only one you can trust in this offense right now.
100%. 100%. And next, we've got the battle of Josh Allen's.
Fight!
And that is the Buffalo Bills visiting the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is the toilet bowl of the week. Buffalo Bills 6, Jacksonville Jaguars 9. It was just ridiculous. Allen threw for 264 yards. He also threw 2 interceptions. He was the leading rusher. Zach Moss, nowhere to be found. Devin Singletary, nowhere to be found. Josh Allen, 5 carries for 50 yards. Stephon Diggs, 6 receptions, 85 yards. Obviously, no touchdowns. So I think the Buffalo Bills are kind of in the same little reel that the Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are in. But the Kansas City Chiefs have won 2 straight.
Yeah, they're just in a rut. Nobody's perfect every week. I mean, we saw a couple of teams today. The Rams, Cowboys, they didn't play up to their usual selves either.
No, not at all.
But even though they lost and didn't score any touchdowns, it is worth noting that all of these receivers are getting a ridiculous amount of targets still.
Yep.
Diggs with 8, Sanders with 8, Beasley with 11, even Singletary had 8. Like, they're still throwing the ball a ton. So games like this are going to be more of an outlier, kind of a fluke versus the norm for sure.
100%.
You got to trust the process, baby. You got to trust the process.
You got to trust
Absolutely. That could not have been more fitting right there. Gave me goosebumps.
I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. So goosebumps were had not on the Jacksonville Jaguars side, except when they won the game. Trevor Lawrence, 118 yards, only 26 attempts. Carlos Hyde, James Robinson was scratched, 21 carries, 67 yards. I mean, Dan Arnold was the leading receiver in this. I'm glad I didn't start Marvin Jones in any of my leagues. He only had 3 receptions for 21 yards. And, Jamal Agnew, whatever. And so it was just, it really lived up to the toilet bowl of the week. Shall we move on? I feel we've talked a little bit too much about this.
I just want to make one note, I guess. If James Robinson does miss any time going forward, whether it's this injury or another, it's worth noting that Hyde did receive like all the carries. He was a workhorse. It wasn't some committee thing. So if you got Robinson, want to handcuff Hyde, can't fault you for that. He'll have better
100%.
matchups than this going forward if he has to play.
And going forward, actually, we have a question from Brock Goose. Welcome, Brock. This is Sloppy Sundays. We get nice and sloppy around here. And, the lady may be scaring us, but we're not in Billy Madison. We're just going to keep moving on.
Sloppy Joe.
Lady, you're scaring us. So, subscribe. He's asking Godwin for DJ Moore, PPR.
I'm guessing that means rest of season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with Godwin.
Yeah, I mean he's saying should he? I think he's saying should he trade Godwin for DJ Moore?
Oh, that does say for. I read it Godwin or.
Yeah, I would stick with Godwin, also because Godwin just had his bye, so you get to play him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I want Godwin there.
Next is the Battle of Ohio. The Cleveland Browns upset the Cincinnati Bengals 41-16. Baker Mayfield finally threw for more than one touchdown this year, only 218 yards, but the real story. Chub, 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 Nick. Chub, 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 Nick. Not Chubba Hubbard. That's a different team, but Nick Chubb on 14 carries, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If you do the math, that's almost 10 yards per carry. That is just redonkulous. Obviously, we all saw how he was able to put his feet on the ground and run all the way through that Cincinnati Bengals defense. It looks a little broken. They've lost 2 straight. And Donovan's Peoples-Jones, only 2 receptions, 86 yards, but a biscuit. Butter that biscuit.
Yeah, Peoples-Jones, good production there. Chubb even had 2 catches today.
Yeah.
So Hunt better watch out. But no, performances like this are possible for Mayfield too.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody like this guy who watched him play for OU. I just want to put this out there. Steve Smith Sr. doesn't know what he's talking about. It is not Baker's fault that Odell could not produce in Cleveland. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I wish I wish Baker's dad made a reel of all the times that Odell dropped wide open catches that Baker put right in his hands, because there were a lot of them. I saw a lot of them. Let's move on to the other side of the ball. Joe Burrow. 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Pretty out of character for him. 282 yards. But Joe Mixon, if you had him, you did well this week. He had a total of 28 points in full PPR, 64 yards on 13 carries, 2 touchdowns, and he sprinkled in 5 catches for 46 yards. That's exactly why you drafted Joe Mixon. The battle of the Joes, Joe Mixon won in fantasy this week.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect him to get that much work in this kind of game script either, being that far behind, but they stuck with him and it paid off for fantasy owners for sure.
Yeah. Jamar Chase held without a touchdown again. And, or actually, no, I think he had a touchdown last week, but still 6 receptions for 49 yards, 10.9 points, full PPR. That's not what you're looking for from Jamar Chase. Like he has been, but he may be going through a little bit of a rookie slump. CJ Uzoma, the hot name around the league right now, especially for fantasy, 4 receptions for 24 yards. He didn't have that big playability that we've been looking at him for, and so you kind of just gotta
trust the process, baby. You gotta trust the process.
And some days he's gonna have bad weeks, some days he's gonna have good weeks, but this one was a bad one. And T. Higgins, I mean, if T. Higgins scores a touchdown, it's a complete game. 6 receptions, 78 yards. Unfortunately, they could not get into the end zone with him.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't top-end production, but it is a nice step forward for Higgins for sure.
Next, let's go to Carolina, baby. The Patriots beat the Panthers, the 5-week bust Panthers, 24-6. It was the story of the defense this week. The New England Patriots, 20 points for defense. I streamed them in one league, in our league, and they got me 20 points, and it was wasted because I lost.
Oh, you hate that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can't think of a team. Patrick Mahomes, Devontae Adams, Austin Eckler, 20 points from a defense. I mean, and I lost. I had only 78 points. It's crazy. We got a comment from J Gore 10. Kyle, I told y'all to get off my Titans. He throwing that heat.
Yeah, Jonathan, you're right, man. I didn't think they stood a chance in this game tonight, but I don't know. They look good. They look real good. That
They
defense
did.
especially looked real good.
Yeah. And that
Running game still
Rams
needs some work. Tannehill still needs to work on getting the ball to A.J. Brown and Julio better, but that defense looked real good.
and the Rams looked super sloppy.
Very sloppy.
So the Patriots, Mac Jones threw an interception, only 139 yards and a touchdown. What do you know? Jacoby Myers still doesn't have a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson. Oh yeah.
Now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Ramondre Stevenson, 10 carries for 62 yards. He got hurt in the fourth quarter. Brandon Bolden, 54. Damian Harris, 30 and a touchdown. You know, most people have, like me, started Damian Harris today. He is questionable. He didn't return to the game at some certain point. But the leading receiver, Ramondre Stevenson, 2 receptions, 44 yards.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hunter Henry got another biscuit, and that's like what?
It's about all he's good for.
Yeah, 4 in his past 6 games, 2 receptions for 19 yards. But let's get over to the better part. Oh, but not so better part. Sam Darnold. He just can't win against Bill Belichick, and he didn't win again.
Else for that matter.
Yeah, right. 172 yards, 3 interceptions. Man,
so sad. The Jets are like, now y'all are seeing what we're talking about.
Yeah. And there was a lot of tension through between Robbie Anderson and longtime friend Sam Darnold.
Fight.
And they almost did.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson has a right to be pissed off this year.
100%.
He's just not getting the ball at all.
No,
at all.
Not one bit. Christian McCaffrey, 14 carries, 52 yards. He was the leading receiver as well, 4 receptions for 54. I mean, he was on a snap count. Yeah. I mean, still though. I mean, what is that like? At the very least, that's probably 22 plays.
He got 18 touches.
Yeah.
So that's 18 touches is a full workload for most people, and that was his pitch count.
Yeah.
So I think we see him getting back up closer to 30 again next week.
100%. 100%. So that's pretty much all from that game. I don't think we need to talk about that one anymore.
Everybody else sucked, including DJ Moore, which is very sad face.
Yeah. Next is it hurts Kyle deep in his boneses. Oh. We're going in Texas.
Can we skip
Denver Broncos? No, we cannot. I'm a Jets fan, so I don't have much celebrating to do over here, and we have to review it every week.
Yeah.
Except when they're on Thursdays, because that's what they were this week. Lucky me. Oh. So the Denver Broncos upset the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys couldn't put together a drive until the last 3-4 minutes.
Yeah.
It was pretty ridiculous. Teddy Bridgewater threw for 249 yards, 1 touchdown. Javonte Williams over 100 yards rushing.
We could not stop that running game at all today. It was so awful. It was so bad.
Tim Patrick finally came out and did his waiver wire duties. 4 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. You probably didn't start him, though. Cortland Sutton, biggest disappointment in this game?
Yeah, very much so. But, I mean, it's always kind of – I don't know. I feel like you always want to play your second and third receivers against Dallas this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Thielen, he had a good game. Jefferson didn't, but – Judy still had a good game, and then Patrick, but Sutton was nowhere to be seen. So I don't know what happened there, but, they ran the ball 38 times.
Yeah.
Well, 41 if you count Bridgewater's 3 for -1.
My dad just walked in the door and said something very strange I don't think anyone's heard before. Fantasy is life?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Daddy Dunna.
Daddy Dunna, Pop Smoke in the house. So on the other side, on the Cowboys side, Dak threw for 2 touchdowns in garbage time, 232 yards, which probably most of it came in garbage time as well.
To fantasy irrelevant Malik Turner, both of his touchdowns. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah. What a waste. Dalton Schultz was the leading receiver, 4 receptions for 54 yards.
What the hell?
Yeah. I think I'm good. I think I'm good on this game.
Lamb pulled a Justin Jefferson from last week and went 2 for 23.
He did 100%.
Zeke 10 for 51. There's just nothing. There was nothing there. So yeah, I'm good. We can move on.
All right, cool.
Before I start crying on camera.
Yeah, right. No one wants to see that.
No.
And that brings us, speaking of Justin Jefferson, to the shot caller shootout. We have the Minnesota Vikings visiting the Baltimore Ravens. It had to go to OT. Free football, everyone. No one can complain about that unless you were playing against Lamar Jackson and Hollywood Brown, because they had some overtime play that really helped me.
Yeah.
And so on the Vikings side, though, 187 yards and 2 touchdowns from Kirk Cousins. You know, he just still didn't throw an interception, which is good, which Kirk has been a lot better at. Maybe he got LASIK with Jameis Winston, but he didn't tear his ACL, so he's still playing. Dalvin Cook had over 100 yards, finally. Still didn't score a touchdown, though. But you know who did? Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson.
I have a lot of stock in Jefferson, so I was happy camper today.
So, at 3-5, do you think this is a lost season for the Minnesota Vikings?
Being in the NFC, yeah. The NFC's tough this year. It's deep. If they were in the AFC, they have a shot.
Yeah, I agree. And the ones that are the Baltimore Ravens, and they came off the bye week strong. Lamar had over 30 points in fantasy, threw for 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and still had over 30 points. Imagine that. 120 rushing yards.
21 carries for Jackson.
21 carries.
That's a running back's full workload right there. 21 carries.
Ridiculous.
But then aside from Jackson and then Brown's 116 yards, all the touchdowns went to fantasy irrelevant players Bell, Freeman, Ricard, and Duvernay. What? Yeah. Where did Andrews, Bateman, Brown, where did they go?
Exactly.
It's tough. On that side.
And speaking of like fantasy relevant players, I was looking at my PPR league, my friends league, and it was the lowest scoring week from all of our teams. It was crazy.
Yeah, all of my leagues were the same way.
I think this is one of the lowest scoring weeks this year so far, and it's frustrating. It's kind of boring.
Because I have this ESPN fantasy cast pulled up here still. 63 touchdowns on the day. That's usually in the 80s, 90s for total touchdowns on the day across the games, or the week across the games. So very low scoring week.
I mean, we did have like some offenses that do throw for a good amount of touchdowns in the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, and even the Washington football team.
Yeah, and then the ones that were playing, like the Rams, the Cowboys, and some of these were just the Bills. They were just in a slump. They just had a bad week.
Yeah.
So all of the high-scoring offenses that are on bye or sucked. So it's just sometimes that's the way it goes,
Yep. And that brings us to not our first, but our second. Where is it? Come on. Toilet bowl of the week. The Houston Texans lose to the Miami Dolphins. Man, I heard that Tyrod Taylor was trying to throw it to the 5 people that were in the stands in the Miami Dolphins stadium. I heard the dolphin literally got out of the fish tank, just kind of like hopped out of there, and
a little bit.
They called Jim Carrey, and he didn't want to even come and try to find the dolphin.
He said, "No, I'm good. Snowflake, he gone."
Bye. So the Dolphins win 17-9 in an ugly game. Tyrod threw 3 picks. Phillip Lindsay was the leading rusher on the Texans side. Brandon Cooks, 11.6 points in full PPR. So it's nothing to write home about. There were a good amount of receptions, but all for short yardage. And, Tua didn't start. He was active today, which was kind of funny. They didn't rule him out or whatever, but they weren't going to play him. The commentators were saying something about that.
That's weird.
Yeah, but Jacoby Brissett, they got it done. It was probably kind of a rest week because they thought they could pull it out against the Texans. Brissett, 2 interceptions, 244 yards, a touchdown. Myles Gaskin had some points this week.
He didn't
6
do
receptions.
a whole lot of points, but boy, he had a workhorse's workload this week.
Yeah. I mean, he had 6 receptions for 23 yards. That's 8.3 points. A touchdown. That's 14.3. And then, so he had 7 in full PPR. He had almost 18 points.
Yeah.
Like that from a
could have been
flex
better
at this
against
point.
Houston, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
But for a flex at this point, that's really all you can kind of wish for. Mike Gesicki was a little disappointing. 4 receptions for 54 yards. He made a couple key drops that he was really pissed off at himself about. And, they're just trying to get right on track and have Brian Flores keep his job. But I don't see that happening too much at the end of the year.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of coaching changes in this offseason, I think.
Yeah.
Might see 1 or 2 happen before then.
Speaking of coaching changes, these 2 teams made one, and the one that made the bigger impact was Mr. Clock Management being fired from the Los Angeles Chargers, pulling out the win against the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a close one. Justin Herbert, 356 yards on 2 touchdowns. Yo, get this. He only had 6 incompletions. 6.
That's incredible.
And they weren't all check down passes. Like Austin Eckler only had 3 receptions for 23 yards. As your late first, second round pick, I mean, he kind of disappointed today.
Yeah, I know Corey. He has a Eckler in a ton of leagues, and very disappointed. Very disappointed.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't have him in any leagues, which is weird. But
and look at that, Keenan Allen. He's finally back. 12 receptions, 104 yards, back-to-back games. He has been putting up those wide receiver 1 numbers, and it's looking good.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch Wall Street, we've been saying buy Keenan Allen for weeks, and everybody's like, but Mike Williams. Well, last 2 weeks, Allen's back. Mike Williams, scoot over.
Yep. And on the other side, Jalen Hurts, 11 for 17. He also only had 6 incompletions, 162 yards, 1 touchdown. Is Jordan Howard the new RB1 in Philly? 17 carries for 71 yards and a biscuit?
Certainly appears that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which is, I didn't see that coming, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. I thought he was going to be another James Conner, but not the James Conner of today. Jalen Hurts rushed for 62 yards on 10 carries. Boston Scott turned 10 carries into 40 yards. Kenneth Gainwell had a touchdown. No one started him this week.
He vultured one.
All just irrelevant people scoring, except for maybe Devontae Smith. He had the best game. Yeah. 5 receptions, 116 yards, and a touchdown. That's 22 points, full PPR, people. That's great.
That's really good. A couple of things. Ever since Ertz left, Goddard's been very disappointing.
Yeah,
and then
that's a fact.
Secondly, 6 incompletions on 17 throws versus 38 is less impressive. For Hurts versus Herbert.
100%. Yo, I didn't think there were this many, but let's move on to a little afternoon action. Sunday matinee. We've got not one, not the second, But the third toilet bowl of the week, I thought it was going to be a
everybody did
shot caller shootout, but it was the toilet bowl of the week. Green Bay Packers lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 7-13. Jordan Love, he ain't loving his wide receivers very much. 19 for 30, 15 incompletions. We just went from one spectrum where the quarterbacks can actually throw the ball to the wide receivers to the other spectrum where they don't even think the wide receivers are actually there. They're just throwing the ball, here you go. Maybe you'll catch it, maybe you don't. I don't know. I'm not professional. 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Everything was just disappointing about this game from both sides.
They didn't even run that much.
No.
Like Green Bay, I don't know what they were doing.
I mean, 12 carries, 53 yards for Aaron Jones. And like Randall Cobb was the high yards getter. It's just okay. Aaron, the bad man from last year, you need to come back, baby, because I need some help in my fantasy leagues. And I don't even have you in my fantasy leagues. I just have, some of the people on your team. So, and it looks like Travis Kelsey was the highest point getter, 5 receptions, 68 yards, and 1 touchdown. And that's why you kind of drafted him in the first round if you did.
Yep. Yeah, it was nice to see him do a lot better after last week's debacle.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know what's wrong with Kansas City's offense either.
No, it's just like it's like a broken record that doesn't even repeat anything.
It's a broken record that doesn't spin.
Yeah.
Just sits there on the countertop collecting dust because you're too lazy to throw it away.
Yeah, right. Next, we've got the Arizona Cardinals that beat the 49ers at home without Kyler Murray. Chase Edmonds getting hurt within the first couple minutes. Also, without DeAndre Hopkins and without A.J. Green. Oh, wait. But wait, there's more. Also, no J.J. Watt. And they still were able to beat the 49ers 31-17. Colt McCoy, 249 yards, only 4 incompletions, 1 touchdown. James Conner, I think he's the highest point getter of this week, unless Najee Harris just has a career day. He had 21 carries, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. He just wouldn't stop. He had 18 points in the first half. On the ground, through the air, he had 5 receptions, 77 yards, and another touchdown. He had a hat trick, people. I didn't like it too much, but that's okay.
I didn't see that receiving line coming from him.
No.
Like, I understand why, because Edmonds got hurt, but still, I mean, good grief.
It was just very, very unfortunate. And Christian Kirk threw a 33-yard pass.
You love to see that.
Yeah.
Well, bonus points if you started him today.
Yeah, right. George Kittle came back and had a day. And is Brandon Ayuk, is he back?
Kittle. I don't want to say he's back. He had a game today. Debo a little less than 100% maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Mitchell less than 100%, so they didn't run a whole lot. So threw a little bit more than usual. So I'm still a little hesitant on Ayuk.
And looks like Jeff Wilson Jr. got a big donut today. Didn't even get a carry.
Yeah, that's surprising too. Honestly, I thought he'd get at least a couple.
The man of glass couldn't even build a house of glass for people to throw rocks at.
Oh, sadly.
But yeah, 2 people that haven't been showing up for the 49ers this year finally did, in George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk. And if you have them, you may want to sell high, because you probably could. And for the 3 people watching this right now, drop your comments below. We got some time. We want to shoot that stuff. We want to help you propel you to fantasy greatness, because you know what it is. Fantasy is life.
I can't tell you how happy I am Kittle's back, though. I have him in so many leagues. He's one of my favorite players, so I always try to draft him.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they can get him in the receiving game, that's great. Yeah. Enough of this. I'm going to block more this year. How how about not?
How about
Okay?
no?
And so this brings us to the final game of this week. The Tennessee Titans going into LA, looking at fantasy football state of mind's retreat and saying, look, the Rams aren't going to win this one. All right. And Tannehill ran in for a touchdown. He also threw one. Adrian Peterson, he got the start. 10 carries and the bulk of the carries, 10 carries, 21 yards. This is going to be a running back committee. It's not going to be fun to watch.
Foreman looked better than I think people expected. So
yeah,
he turned it into a three-way committee tonight rather than just McNichols and Peterson.
100%. And the Rams defense, though, they did play pretty well regardless. I mean, A.J. Brown held to 5 catches for 42 yards, had a couple drops in there. Julio Jones, only 4 receptions, 35 yards. Another Jeff Swaim had a touchdown. Like, no one has you in fantasy. Why are you catching the ball?
Exactly. Speaking of fantasy irrelevant, they should do stats. Like, they should make it mandatory. Like, in the locker room before the games, everybody looks up their fantasy percentage, like ownage percentages. And, like, if you're over, like, 50% owned, you get, like, a neon helmet or something. Like an indicator that says throw to me.
Yeah, exactly. That's just like the next step in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. Eventually it'll become crazy integrated. You know it will.
And the bigger story is that Rams offense really could never get going against what we thought was a weak Tennessee Titans team. Matt Stafford, 31 for 48 on attempts, 294 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, one which was a pick 6.
Yeah.
And Robert Woods was the biggest beneficiary. Actually, he had the most yards, but in full PPR, Cooper Kupp still managed to get 20 points without a touchdown.
Those target totals are crazy. And then 11 catches for Kupp. Jefferson, his targets fell down a little bit this week in favor of Higbee.
Mm-hmm.
But they just throw the ball so much.
Yeah. And, this was kind of a statement from the Tennessee Titans, and it's a little statement from me too. 3 weeks ago, when the Titans started this run, I said they would win 7 in a row, and it's getting there. They have a pretty easy schedule coming up too after this win.
Yeah, they tonight was 5th in a row, so they got 2 more to go till you're correct.
Let's go. All right, let's preview a little Monday Night Football. We've got the Bears at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both teams are pretty mediocre, except the Bears are a lot of mediocre, which means they pretty much just suck.
How did they win 3 games? That's what I want to know. They're 3-5. How did they win 3 games?
They put up. This is the Joe Madden stat of the day. They scored more points than the opposing team and held the opposing team to less points.
Yeah, but how? How did they score any points at all? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
I've not seen them do it very effectively yet.
I think Andy Dalton had a part in that in like the first game or something like that. But other than that, it was that's pretty dismal. So fantasy relevant players. If you had to pick up Justin Fields and start him, or Big Ben because Russell Wilson's hurt, or you didn't have Tom Brady and that's about it. But hopefully you don't. But you could be seeing a good game from Najee Harris. If you're down by a little bit, he should be able to pick you up and put him on your back. I would be a little worried about Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool is one of the bigger busts, along with Allen Robinson and Odell this year, with what he was able to do last year in his rookie year. But, if you listen to the Fantasy Shotcallers, you would have never drafted him. So that's all right.
I do think it'll be a good Pat Freiermuth game, though.
Yeah, just like your your boys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, love their tight ends in, Heath Miller back in the day. So, I mean, I think this will be more of a defensive game. All I need is like 3 points from the Steelers to win, to make it 4 in a row in my friends league. So, come on, Steelers.
You should get that.
Yeah.
I would think. Slow night in the chat.
Yeah, I know. I think, this is, so everyone that's here, we switch times from 10 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're just trying to get a little more engagement right after the game. We're trying to get y'all fresh. You can vent a little bit here, but you got to vent on the safe space with 7 o'clock, my old co-host. I miss him dearly, but, it's all right. We're all branching off. We're doing new things. We're being the best that we can be because, we're trying to quit our jobs and do this for real.
That is the dream, yes. Obviously, I don't blame you for preferring 7 over me.
No. I'm just
kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But, yeah, I mean, we got right after Monday Night Football, we got Panic Room, and right after that, we got Safe Space with 7, who used to be on here. So,
yeah,
it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. I'm excited. That's a brand new show, Safe Space. Yeah. I'm excited for that.
And tell the people when it comes out.
It'll be tomorrow night. It's at 10 Pacific, so midnight Central.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So
it'll be a little late on the East Coast. We got Brian Gibbons popping in here. Needed Stafford to outscore Big Ben and Foreman by 10. 16-team league. Existence is he wrote a asterisk is pain. Hey, I get it. 135 projected last week, 81 points. 116 projected this week, 71 points. 2 losses. I hate fantasy football. Yo, fantasy is life, but sometimes, fantasy is death at the same time.
Just like actual life, fantasy football will also give you a kick in the ass from time to time.
Right in that booty bung hole. It will do it over and over again sometimes.
I feel your pain. I've been there too many times. I'm in too many leagues. I feel it every week, and I'm
not in 11 leagues again. Like
I'm never doing that again. I'm cutting at least half of them next year. Like I'm not doing it.
Like I'll keep my dynasty. I'll keep Vegas. I'll keep my friends league, and maybe one more. But other than that,
that's where I'm at this point too. I'm like,
I've got like 6 full-time jobs now.
Yeah, for real. Definitely. Yep.
Well, I think we can wrap this up a little early.
The new time will catch on.
Yeah, exactly.
Between that and daylight savings time, ending, everything's kind of out of whack this weekend, I think. So,
I'm your fantasy shot caller of the night, Ben Dunna. Benny Buckets. He's in the house as always, joined by my guy from Boom Bust and the Fantasy Football Network, Kyle.
I don't have a rhyme for that.
It's all good. You don't have to.
You got Benny Buckets. I'm just Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle. Screw you, Kyle.
But anyways, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm here every week. New guests every week. We're going to start eating some sloppy Sundays. And tell your friends, tell your mother about us. We're trying to get to over 1,000 subscribers. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm getting into a little kiddie pool PSA and becoming a human Sunday on Sloppy Sundays. Is it going to be great? Not for me, but for you.
Delicious.
It will.
It's going to be delicious.
It's going to be great. Anyways.
You try to eat it through the screen, just like.
Exactly. Well, you've tuned in, so you must know by now, fantasy is life. It's a vibe. And we will catch you next week on Sloppy Sundays. Peace, y'all.
Yeah.